Hi, Megan. Hi, Heidi.
Hi.
How are you
Welcome,
ladies doing
Heidi.
tonight?
Wonderful.
Okay, I'm going to get this party started for everyone who's watching. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Barn Besties. We're so excited you're joining us live tonight. We are thrilled to have a very special guest with us, Heidi Herriott. Heidi is a third-generation animal trainer whose specialty lies in trick training, liberty work, and choreographed dancing horse routines. She's originally from Baraboo. Woo-hoo!
Baraboo.
She's our peeps. She's toured across the United States, teaches clinics nationwide, and has trained horses for some truly iconic productions, including serving as head trainer for the Tournament of the Kings at the Excalibur in Las Vegas and working with Arabian Nights Dinner Theater in Florida. You may also recognize her from RFD-TV series Heidi Herriott's HorseTrix. I'm so excited to have you. And my question to start it off is, you're a third generation animal horse trainer. Can you share a little bit about your family history and how it shaped the way you train today?
Oh, absolutely. I feel privileged because I grew up in a family of animal trainers. Started with my grandfather. Actually, in show business, we actually go back to the days of the Wild West shows, the Miller Brothers 101 Ranch. My grandfather was a chef on the show, and my great grandfather. My grandfather was there with him as a young boy and was fascinated with the animals. They ended up the couple split up. My grandfather got moved to Arizona to a jail where the woman married a marshal. He trained all the stray animals outside the jail. He loved the animals. A circus came through. Gosh, this would have been the early 1900s. And he was fascinated, and they had trained animals. So when he was 14, he finally just ran away and joined out. So he kind of started our legacy of animal trainers, and it was self-taught, but then he got the opportunity to be around a lot of the professionals. Something I'll talk about it in the Midwest Horse Fair, and kind of a passion of mine with all the liberty things we hear. It really all started with the circus horse trainers, because they were getting their animals to do things that the average person wasn't. This even goes back to the days of horse and buggies. So my grandfather learned from all these wonderful circus horse trainers, and that was the genesis of the movie animals as well. Both my dad and my grandfather have done things with movies, and not only horses. I grew up with a lot of different animals. So then my father followed in the proverbial footsteps. My mother was a Youngstown, Ohio farm girl who had a rough life, ran away and joined the circus. And my dad and grandfather were the horse trainers on the show. She had been milking cows and playing with horses and having a lot of fun. She toured with the White Horse Troupe, which way back then was long before the bridleless ride, the Stacy Westfall. My mom and a bunch of ladies, including Laura Mandy's mother, for those in the show business world who know her, and Acierto, her beautiful horse, they were bridleless riding, Roman riding, jumping, and doing all kinds of stuff. So she joined out, met my dad, and never looked back. And together they trained a lot of animals, had 4 daughters, and all of us are animal trainers, and proud of our legacy. And the thing that's cool, I tell people as they're trying to find their training program for horses, I'll stick with horses for now because I train various animals. I come from a generational family. I always say we're like farmers, but we travel a little more. But we had a great program, right? Our growing up, it handed down, and I learned it. But I always say, take the best of the generational knowledge, which is really hard to replace, but then update that with science and even technology updates and data, where we understand the animals differently. We may have just more information than they had. And that's really a great program, right? Generational knowledge and being willing and open to what's out there now. And with the internet, of course, the sky's the limit. You can see it all. And some of it's even fake now, which is hard. And I'll address that too, because I really feel passionately about that, to keep everybody safe and not give up on your training because you see things that seem unachievable, you know?
Yeah, with the advent of AI, artificial intelligence, the videos that are being posted throughout social media are scary and dangerous.
Yeah.
It's
And even
terrible.
on a lighter note, I always had a talking horse. So, and I'll teach this at the clinic. I teach my horse to smile with his mouth open. So I usually have a cue with my hand up in the air. Well, then I do a half cue after they're trained and they kind of open, close, open, close. Well, that turns into talking, right? So I've done many times on the road, the news would come out for whatever show or we were doing or equestrian theater. And my little horse would be like, we'll be right back with the weather, right? They'd use him. Well, now AI does that. And I was so disappointed because I actually had a real horse that could pretend he talked. Now all these apps and stuff. So it's disappointing. I was like, yeah, but I worked hard at that.
Yeah, you sure did. And so you grew up in Baraboo.
I grew up in Baraboo at the Circus Museum. It was the original home of the Ringling Brothers. It's hard for
Yeah.
me to imagine because the show has since moved to Florida. And of course, Florida in the winter is wonderful. Most circus seasons are off in the winter. Well, here are the Ringling Brothers, the hometown boys of Sarasota, and many of their cousins were nearby who also had circuses. And they wintered in Florida. Well, some or Wisconsin in those days. This is the late 1800s. And many of the barns are still there. If you haven't been to Circus World, it's so fascinating in Baraboo. So my father went there when I was a year old, and we were there through most of the 60s, giving away my age here. And it was our playground. It was where my dad made magic training animals, and my mom, 12 ponies performing together at Liberty, camels and elephants and llamas, just everything. And it was magical. And it's not a big town, so the town just completely embraced us all. And then my father got hired personally by the owner of Ringling Brothers in the late 60s, and off we went. But Baraboo will always be home to my sisters and I, for sure.
Oh, it's so special. And I'm so disappointed in myself because I didn't go until 2 years ago. And luckily I went because of Avia. You know, you're a tourist in your own town,
Yeah.
and they still had the elephants.
Yeah.
And they don't have the elephants anymore. And it's amazing how many circuses were actually in Wisconsin. I had no idea.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And most of them, again, cousins or relatives of the Ringlings. And it's a really special history. And it was just such a great place to grow up. So when I was asked to come back to the Midwest Horse Fair, I was there also in, 2012 or so as a clinician. I was excited. Yeah.
Are you going to tour around Madison and Baraboo? Will you get a chance to, by the way?
So I will be there. One of the things I've been doing lately, I've freelanced a bit. I don't actually own horses anymore. I've had a couple neck surgeries, not surprising, my age and growing up around horses, and and I bow horses and do things like that. So, whatever we're doing in the horse world, we're working physically and hard, which is great. I have a mantra when I'm lifting stall panels or hay, I'll never have osteoporosis. I'll never have osteoporosis because it's all weight, right? When you're to keep your body healthy. Well, I had some neck surgeries and had to back away from that. I was actually training up at the dancing horses, or down, I guess, in Lake Geneva. Beautiful place. Great horses. Oh my gosh, how fun. And my dad had trained there before me, and then my daughter took over from me. So 3 generations of our family. My dad was there when it started to train the initial horses. So I rehomed my horses basically. And one of the things I'm passionate about is saying, if you have well-trained animals, people will stand in line to get them, right? I train dogs and I train horses primarily at this point. And I'm very passionate about the foundation. Yes, I want to train them to do really cool stuff, but we can't do any of that till they have an absolutely superb foundation. And so I'm really passionate about that. And then the sky's the limit. We've got a horse who knows how to behave. He doesn't spook at everything. They can be taken care of safely, whether breeding or just grooming, feet, all of that. That's so important. And I'll say this now, and you'll hear me say it every time anybody lets me have a microphone or when I'm doing clinics. The most responsible and loving thing we can do for our horses is train them. Don't personalize your training. Don't think it's cute when your stallion is nippy. Don't think it's cute when your horse kicks or whatever it is, because if something happens to you, God forbid, whether temporarily or permanently, and that horse needs a home, the animals who usually don't come into harm's way are the well-trained animals. So if you're trying to figure out whether you want to do liberty work or dressage or hunter jumper or whatever, it all starts with a great foundation. And not only are you doing the right thing by that animal, but you're securing its well-being for life, almost certainly. And I want people to think of that first and foremost. And if we do a good job at that, you can have all the fun in the world. You could train till your heart's content. And if you do nothing more, you've still got a wonderful horse and a safer environment. It's still a risky environment with horses, let's face it, but you've made the playing field much better for everybody and secured the animal's life. So it's a passion of mine.
Sorry, took me a second to unmute.
No problem.
I'm so fascinated by the circus life you grew up around. Like, what was your favorite animal? I know we're talking a lot about horses. And,
Elephants.
I'd love to hear a
Yeah,
little bit about
I should have
elephants.
held up a picture for you. My first job was riding elephants. We had my father was in charge of all the animals, and he was also the entertainment director. For anybody who's my age or maybe a little older, they remember the Milwaukee Parade, the largest non-motorized parade in the world. My father was the guy who got that on the road. Literally, they shipped everything from Baraboo till Milwaukee by train, like they had in the olden, not the older days, because Ringling had a train up until about 2 decades ago. But he taught the horses to drive and pull the wagons and load on the flat cars. And I grew up with all of that. But we also had young elephants, Topsy, Toby, and Eva, 3 elephants. And I grew up with those elephants. And my father taught them to do their routine for the show, but he also taught them to pull wagons. They helped load the train. They were in the parade pulling wagons, and they're amazing. It's so hard because we're in an environment where you say circus elephants and people have, I say on Facebook, you've got the angry face, the red face or the tears. And then you've got the happy face and the huggy heart. I did a podcast for years. And I always say the reality and the truth lies somewhere in the middle, like, the thinking face, right? Another emoji. There's always more to the story. Again, you can't train any animal, including an elephant, to do higher level maneuvers till they have a foundation as well. And you also can't, kind of like a horse, you're really not going to make a horse do anything it doesn't want to do. And I think you said you had warm bloods. Well, even bigger horses, right? So it's the equivalent of saying there's a stable down the street who does a really crappy job and they abuse their horses. And I don't care what you tell me. All you people in Madison do the same thing. I don't care what you tell me. You live near that stable, you do it too. So elephants are very high profile. You take an elephant, you show it has been abused, which is horrifying. Every abuse should be countered with the appropriate measures, right? And you say, I don't care what they tell you, they're all doing it. Well, I'm here to tell you it's not true. And if you believe that, you believe every arena, everybody at Circus World, to your point, they had elephants at Circus World. You have to believe everybody at Circus World, visitors, staff, non-animal people, have watched this and turned their head to it. Does that even make sense? Does it even make sense? This isn't something you're doing in the corner of a barn very quietly. We all know if you see abused an animal, and we're mostly horse people here, we recognize it. Nobody has to tell us, right? whether it's a real fearful animal, lack of training, or neglected, not eating, or physically abused. If we're good horse people, we could see that. No one has to tell us. So I just say to people, we now understand that we've been tricked by videos and tricked by social media. And we've known this, the people that I grew up around, and were just what my dad was like our hero. And then people are calling him an animal abuser. It was just so, I couldn't get my head around it. But understand that this is the animal rights community making, the big animal rights community, the large ones, making this a fundraiser, because we have camels and llamas too. So if you want to talk about trained animals in show business, let's talk about all of them. We have horses. Guess what? The horse lobby's too big, so they don't take horses out of the circus. And they don't really care about camels and llamas because they don't make a lot of money. Elephants raise millions of dollars. So obviously I could go on. And I always tell my friends, I started a podcast called Animal Tales so that you didn't get unsolicited advice from me. You could actually turn it on and listen to me. So a little soapbox there.
Do you think the love of the elephant also has to do with Disney and Dumbo? Because I, as an itty bitty little girl, when I watched Dumbo, oh my gosh, broke my heart, loved elephants from
Yeah.
that day forward.
Yeah. And what's interesting, my father in 1954 was invited by Walt Disney personally to come to Disneyland. He was on a circus called the Gil Gray Circus. They hired the circus. Well, they had beautiful floats, the Cinderella carriage, all of that. They hired them to come to Disneyland and do a circus for a few months over the winter, the Disneyland circus. And my dad had this show on 3 baby elephants. And Walt Disney loved those animals. He loved the circus. I used to live in Orlando. My kids were raised in Orlando, and the circus at Disney World is just the whole setup there is magical. I can't think of the word, the location of it, the whole area. And so he loved the animals and really, really enjoyed that. So it's funny you asked that particular question, because he was there he wore a big Stetson, and he was there hands on. The Mickey Mouse Club were part of the circus as well. And so that was a lot of fun.
So you talked about when you train that you have basics. And so as I was growing up, I have a dressage background, and I'll probably heard her name, but Tina Cognac and her family were in the circus training dressage. And I always heard that they were looked down upon. Like there was a difference between circus and like, ooh, there's dressage. And I love how you talk about basics. And I'm like, I've been to the circus. It's amazing what you do. Do you really think there's a difference between high performance ride? It doesn't matter the sport that we're riding horses versus the circus. Do you find that there really is a difference?
So what's interesting about that? So there's the Cognac family, and Dorita Cognac, who had grown up in the circus, at least second generation, probably more than that, because she'd come from Europe. She was a huge trainer in the Sarasota area and just wonderful. My dad was very good friends with her, Alex Cognac, all those folks. And then you have now Tina Christiani and Bruno. I don't know his last name. They're down, I think, in Ocala, and just do such really cool. I think Bruno's Spanish, the trainer. They do such really cool stuff. And I think there's a David Cognac who's an Olympian or at that level. I could be wrong. But what's interesting about dressage, so the Spanish riding school in Austria, my father was a real disciple and historian of the trained horse. So as I understand it, the cavalry masters of Europe, of course, had the nicest horses, right? And they're probably the more educated folks, right? So their horses were transportation, but these people with a little higher education and more probably well-bred horses started schooling their horses, right? They found out their horses could be more than transportation and created these relationships and started creating the kind of the components of dressage. But it's called haute école, high school, right? From the French word, higher level of schooling, haute école. So that actually predates dressage. It includes the dressage movements, the piaffe, passage, laterals, the pirouettes, but it also includes bows, Spanish march, Spanish trot, airs above the ground, the rares, all of that kind of thing. So I grew up with that understanding that dressage as a sport was kind of born of haute école, which is literally means higher schooling. So we called our horses high school horses in our business. So the Cognacs, the Tina Christiani, those folks, we had referred to them as high school horses. And then dressage came kind of after that. And so that's, but it all starts with just a great foundation. And the thing I think I'm most proud of about what we do, by the way, a bucket list for me is to ride like a Grand Prix dressage horse and see how well I'd fare, you know, because it's just magical. But the getting there, and like for our animals, and speaking of horses particularly, so I called mine dancing horses because I really felt like I didn't have the precision. And yes, I had a double bridle if I needed it. I wore little bitty spurs. I'm not a big spear person, but I'm really good with my hands. But I didn't feel like I'd achieved haute école. And part of it is time. I'm on the road. I've got a few months to train. As dressage people know, you can go years in developing a horse. For us, 8 months is a long time. And I can get a passage out of that. I can get a high trotter, those things, and the horse is happy to work. But it's not entirely correct. But we're a visual arena, if you will, right? So Laura Mandy's my friend who's just been a beautiful Liberty trainer. We always say, do you see a number on my back? We're waiting for this. We're just waiting. We work for the applause and the paycheck. So I called mine dancing horses. And it also helped when I was booking sometimes because, you know, somebody I might be booking with didn't know what a high school horse was. But I think that, and when you watch a beautiful dressage horse, my mind says dancing, you know, it's just beautiful. So, but none of that happens without great foundation training. I never trained with a bag in my life, you know, on the end of the stick. I'm not opposed to it, but I tell people, and this is part of my clinics, I have to make this horse pretty much spook free and bomb proof to the extent possible. And that means I might at a county fair, I might be next to the tilt-a-whirl. I might be next to that thing that blows up that goes like that. And I might be unloading at an arena with all kinds of chaos and have to walk in there with all these sounds and spotlights and stuff and go, right? I don't get days to figure it out. I got to go. And we're masters at that, you know, and the only reason that makes me proud is not because we could do it, but we did it by achieving an incredibly solid foundation. And like a quick example, well, people would say, well, my horse will spook at that. The minute your horse loses connection with you, whether visual eye connection, if you're on the ground as a Liberty trainer looking at you, or you're riding and you're telepathically connected, the minute the horse's ears go up or it looks, it's time to get it back. And I always tell people, mix it up, tickle your rein, give it a, you know, a noise, a leg, something. Get back, because they can't multitask. If they're looking over there and ears are up, they could spook. If they're connected to you and your brains are as one, they can't spook. They don't multitask. It's one or the other. And it seems like so easy, but I feel like some of the trainers out there in social media make it seem like everything's so hard and we use all this fancy language. And I call myself the simpleton. Like, don't get discouraged by seeing these things that seem unachievable. Every trek begins with a single step, right? But also half of it's not even real. I'm hugely disappointed by the amount of people that start a horse without any headgear at all, whether a halter or bridle, and their Mustang makeovers, they're getting on horses without a bridle. And I think first and foremost, safety first. I think it's incredibly dangerous for not only them, but I also don't think it brings the horse in its carriage together. You know, I love the seeing the horse rounded in its carriage. So those kind of things. And there are people doing it. I applaud them. It's good stuff. I just don't think for the millions of horse people out there who feel like maybe they failed because they couldn't get it. Heck, I have no interest in doing that. For me, bridleless meant my old broke horses who were fantastic, who I could take the bridle off of and feel pretty confident about what I was going to get. You would not get me on a young horse without something, you know. And so I'm really struggling with where we are. I think generally in life, we're all, whether it's cooking, horses, whatever it is, the internet makes everybody look kind of better than us, or they've got it figured out. I would say take the best of the internet, which is, wow, that's a neat thing to try, you know, and find a training program that works for you and consult professionals if you need to. I try not to break the bank on people. If you hire me, it drives my husband crazy. I'm like, I'm going to help you train your horse if you're capable. If you're not capable, I'll tell you how much it'll cost for me to train your horse. But if at all possible, I want to help you. So I'm not going to tell you we got to do, you know, a year of this and a year of that. And I don't begrudge people who are in that business. I'm just in a hurry because of the nature of my world, being on the road a lot. But I'm trying to help you get better because that's the goal. And heck, I even get discouraged when I see social media posts like some beautiful girl on a horse in the middle of a field, or somebody who says, who's doing a liberty in the middle of a field or wide open space. Very cool. I can do that too, but I can tell you my horse is going to run away a lot of times. And that's the stuff, I almost swore there. That's the stuff they don't tell you. They take the best video. And that really annoys me because I can promise you, I've worked a lot of liberty horses. And let me distinguish, there's circus liberty, where you might have 1 to 12 horses running around a circle, round pen or circus ring, a lot of times with feather and harness, more old fashioned, but that's circus liberty. You're sending them out against the ring. You're doing synchronized by twos, wheels and stuff. Arena liberty is when you're in an open arena. You can send your horse away, bring him back. A lot of the same movements, but it's the recall of the highlighting that you have this huge space and the horse is coming tightly around you. I was the head trainer at Arabian Nights, which was one of the first and probably most famous United States freedom horses, arena horses, the Black Stallion. We had Walter Farley's Black Stallion, trained by the incomparable Glenn Randall, and various people working. And over the years, we had a few of those, but out of us, how many shows did we do a week? Probably 14 shows a week, probably 10 shows. The horse would boogie and you call him back, like break the routine. The audience doesn't know it because it's beautiful. Here goes a horse running away with his main flag. But I just need you guys to know that, you know, that's what happens. Now people say, well, we don't need a routine. We're just going to go out there. I am an absolute routine trainer. I believe they learn by repetition and routine. And only when they start doing the routine before you ask, is it time to mix it up and say, okay, you think you got this? We're going to take it out of sequence. That's when I have a trained horse. And when they've made all the mistakes and we come out on the other side. My father was huge in saying, you know, anybody could train him in the barn. So first of all, get out of your barn, come to the Midwest Horse Fair and get the same result, right? I'm paid as a professional. Like you said, you do dressage. We got to go out there and make it happen, right? So if I tell the Midwest Horse Fair I'm going to be in the night show, I was in the night show years ago, Night of the Horse, I think it was, well, something like that. Jerry Diaz produced it. It was a lovely show. I did my big and little and I rode my horse. And they asked me how much time I needed. Could I work at spotlights and what did I need? Yes, spotlights are fine. All of that. One of a few acts that could go cold and just say, yep, we're good. But I had to make that happen in my 10 or 11 minutes. I couldn't go out and hope the horse decides to lay down or hope the horse bows. And I also, and this is a big part of my clinics, we start with a compass, north, east, southwest. I'm going to be in the middle, or at least defined where I want to be, middle, forward, middle, back. that's the mark to me of when I could say somebody's mastered it. When somebody says, I make my horse lay down. Okay, then every time you ask, you're going to walk out to the center of the arena, cue the horse, and it will lay down. It doesn't mean we're not unforgiving, because I've had horses that didn't want to lay down, but 9 times out of 10, I got to be able to do that as a professional. So those are, I'm going on and on, but those are the things that are coming to mind that I really address in my clinics that I feel so strongly about is, don't get wrapped up in what you're seeing other people do, but do find those professionals who can guide you, or you can kind of follow and create a training program that works for you. And you know what? Have fun with it. If you're not having fun with it, why are you doing it? It's an expensive hobby, and time consuming,
Oh,
right?
I can't agree more. I mean, I am kind of disappointed we can't talk about the messy, right? I think that's what social media has taken away, is like, you got to embrace the suck. I mean, our horses go through moments.
Yeah.
We go through moments, and it
Yeah.
sucks. And it's nice to be able to, like, hey, you got this problem. Hey, you got that. I think that's what's been taken away in horse training. It just doesn't happen. Although I'm curious about your tour. You say you're on, when you were touring across the country, like, what does that look like? Because I think of my show season, I have, maybe 6 months to get my horses ready in Wisconsin. And then from May until October, we got to be on it. And if we have a phase be in between, that's a hard call. So, and you're on tour performing, what does that look like? That seems really hard.
So I think, one, it's being real. I grew up as a performer, so I'm very comfortable. I don't get embarrassed if it's not going well. So I was on Ringling Brothers Gold Unit Tour, which is they called we played more mid-sized cities. So it was a single ring. It was quite lovely to perform in. And I carried for years one big horse, saddle horse, and 3 or 4 miniatures. And part of the reason I did that is because I was by myself most of the time. And it was just easier to handle that way than have 4 big horses. I always really wanted to do the big horses, but it was just a lot more to deal with. And so I had a big rig, a race car trailer with the front living, a bunk for the helper or my daughter, and then the back, and my washer and dryer and all that good stuff. But it was easier to do that. So I created an act with the big horse and then the little horses, we call it a big and little. And 9 times out of 10, they worked pretty good, or something the whole audience wouldn't notice. Like, they're all supposed to waltz, and maybe one of them doesn't waltz at the right time, or that. I'd put my hands on my hips and give them a, like, are you kidding me? Or you have to, in my world, again, because we're not in front of the judges that are looking for different things. So that's how we handle it. I watched my father have fun with that. And it made it real too, because I think the audience, while we want them to be kind of transported into maybe another realm, at the same time, it makes it a little bit more real. So, and then we do backstage tours now more often, and we can actually say to, the folks back there, okay, well, Miss So-and-so decided to be herself today and do her own routine, So, but what we do, I allow, not missteps really, because a misstep is something maybe they got confused about, but intentional, like farting around, or, well, like, they're going to test you. They just are, just like being a parent. So I allow that for a show. And then some people will go practice right away. I don't, because I need it to be fixed in the show. So I wait till the next show, and then I pay really close attention to it, right? I kind of bring bigger energy and let them know this is what happens then, this is what you're supposed to do. And usually that second show, they're still going to kind of give it to you, but I'll get it. Let's say a lay down, or my consistent march, or something like that they've been farting around on. If I don't get it, I will then practice. And it's just consistency. You don't have to be mean to them or nasty. You just say, it's going to happen. This is going to happen. And we, unlike a lot of competitors, we're doing probably minimum of 6 shows a week, and it could be easily twice that. So they they can get sour, right? So it's up to us to be a little creative, and that's when I'll change the routine a little bit, or have some fun with it, or allow them to have an off day. I certainly have my off days, but the thing is, and I think another one of my soapboxes is, the bar has to stay here. My father was always about a high bar. And we live in an environment where people are more emotional and more forgiving. So whether it's children or animals, we just keep lowering the bar to meet the narrative. My dog won't sit without his food in front of him. So I'm just going to not ask for that anymore. Or I say, keep a middle bar, which is a perfectly good, in my case, performance. And I can be here and I can come down to here. I can't keep going here, right? I'm not a professional if I'm doing that. So that's how we do it. Sometimes it's just stellar, and other times it's very good. And very occasionally it will fall below that, and we just get back to work. We consider what we're doing too. My dad used to say, that you guys are going to laugh, and you'll go home after this. You got to be a little smarter than the animal you're working with. You don't know how many times I have set my whips down or got off the back of a horse and sat down, or even a dog, and said, well, son of a gun. And you know what it will do? It will keep you from getting mad, getting credulous. Like, are you kidding me? Or get like, wow, this animal has me over a barrel. I better up my game. It's such a great way to diffuse your anger or your frustration, because where knowledge ends, frustration begins. And that's when we get in an area we probably don't want to be. And we all do it. It's just knowing when to stop and walk away, rethink, come back, and be smarter than the animal you're working with. I think about that all the time.
I have a question. So when you're putting together a performance, like how much time do you spend considering your choreography? And then how often do you change your choreography? I'm so curious, because I think of it like a concert. I just happened to watch the Eras tour on Disney Plus this weekend, 3.5 hours of well done choreography of the singing and the dance, and with horses and doing these performances, like, how long do you sit and sort out what you want to do in that performance, and then when do you go, okay, it's time to change it?
Yeah, well, so I will be at the Midwest Horse Fair also with Cirque Museo, which is under the big top, and it's a Cavalia type performance, but much more intimate. And Alicio Zope is the owner, founder, director. I've known him his whole life. I worked with his parents, and a year ago, he invited me, a little over a year ago, invited me to come and help him out. He was trying to help a family member, and he was at a fair in Georgia with his show, usually tours and works in city by city, but he was booked at a fair. And so he called me and said, could you come and replace me, ride my horses, work my Liberty horse? I need to go help a family member. So he got me there. And then he said, by the way, I got 2 Akal techies that I really need trained, So he asked me to train these horses to do a Liberty Act. That was October. And he opened again in January. So first of all, I know what, and you ladies probably have this advantage too. One of the things we know from the people who are newer at this or just aren't trainers, I start with the end in mind. I know what I can achieve, basically how long it's going to take to get there. I understand there'll be roadblocks in the middle, but it'll still work out the same. It might be slower on the front side and quicker on the, but it's still going to work out. So I can predict with accuracy how to get where I need to go. And that's such a benefit. And that's something I want to help people with. I start with the end in mind. But as far as choreography, so like, let's say a dancing horse, it's like when I'm watching Nashville, the series, and they're songwriters. They're writing songs and then performing them like the next day. It's crazy. I don't know if that's real or not, but a song carries. General songs have a cadence, right? Virtually all songs other than maybe rap, they have a the lyrics, and then they have the chorus, and then the lyrics, the chorus, and then a little piece in between, and then a wrap up. So I'm a person who loves a song, and I want to make an act to a song instead of the other way around. So when I help you with a freestyle or something, I tell you to pick out a piece of music you love, because it's just going to motivate you so much. And think of the genre. Is it fast? Is it slow? That kind of thing. But just like that, there's natural parts of the music, just like creating a song, where the march or the passage or the piaffe, or I did a waltzing, turn on the forehand, turn on the haunches, turn on the forehand, turn on the haunches. Easy trick, because easy thing to do if we're training good. I can't tell you how many people would come up to me in the show and say, oh my gosh, that's the most beautiful trick. It's like kind of basic training just put together, you know? So I follow the cadence of the song, probably to a fault, because when I watch videos of some of these new trainers, like Mustang makeovers, or there's a lot of good trainers out there. Again, if they're really doing it, and some of them are, and they don't have the box. I grew up in the box. So I kind of fight to get out of the box, but I kind of follow that. So I do think about it. It's a great question. With Liberty, same thing. If you give me a jumping horse, a dressage horse, a barrel horse to train, it's going to learn Liberty. No matter what else it does, it's going to know, which is kind of round penning with strategy, right? At the beginning. And then I could probably do it without the round pen, but they're going to learn that. So every horse has to turn towards me. It has to line up, or they call it join up. We call it a line up. Go the other direction, line up, go the other direction, change a ring, waltz, do changes, which can be a figure eight, stop, go, all of that kind of stuff. So Liberty's a little more probably freelance, if you will. I definitely feel like my dancing horses, just like somebody who writes songs, follows a certain cadence, and it could be fairly predictable, but it can look different because of the music, that type of thing. So I don't know if that's a good answer, but I really like to follow the song. And Alicio Cirque Maceo has certainly allowed me at some level more expression. And we're getting ready to direct a new show starting in a few weeks here, and we open the end of January. We're still taking applications for writers and performers. So if anybody's listening, it's Cirque, CIRQUE MACEO, and that's the website. So that's the show that's going to be there. So I'll be performing in the show with the Liberty horses and maybe some other stuff. So I took the Akal techies and I did the basics. And I hadn't decided the music yet, because he uses much more gypsy, really fun, lively music than I might choose for a different performance. And so I call it my 90-day, like you have the Mustang makeover, my 90-day Akal Techie makeover. 4-year-old horses, one gelding, one stallion. And in 90 days, they worked in the show and started their performing career, and they were sensational. They were so good. And my proudest moment was, because we couldn't simulate the audience. I could take them in the tent. Only the week before, I'd been outside training, took them in the tent. We put on music in the tent. It's different, and the lighting. But again, I can't always simulate all of that. So what I need them to do is look at me when they get nervous. And God bless them, both of them. When they got the audience, they were doing great. And then the audience clapped, and both of them stopped. But instead of looking at the audience and ears up, they both turned to me like, what do we do, Heidi? And I was like, good boys, come here. It just made me so happy, because they did exactly what I would want them to do. It's what I tell people with their pet dog. It should look at you, think service dog, look at you. What do I do next? And I'm not a treat trainer. I'm not opposed to the occasional treat, but it's connection. It's eyes on me and connect my brain. And that's how my father taught us. And it just worked really well. So.
I love that. I can't agree more. What's one trick or movement that looks easy but is actually very challenging to teach?
Well, as you know, so I'll start with like riding. And as you know, for us, typically the movement we get the last is a piaffe, right? Or a passage. I'm sorry, passage. A beautiful, because I need him to go. Well, you guys do in dressage too. Sometimes in performing, someone will do 10 steps and come out of it. And we don't always have the most skilled riders. Think of a Dixie Stampede, even Arabian Nights, which was a great dinner theater in Orlando. We had some very skilled riders, and then we also have days off and stuff like that. So unlike maybe what you're going through, we're putting different people on horses. So my job in those arenas, in those areas, the equestrian theater, is to keep the bar here and get a really good or a great performance. I can't let it dip down. And that's kind of what I'm known for. Rares, bows, marches, the things the horses will give up on or cheat on. I teach the people how to get those back. So we try to keep it there. But I would say it's hard to train a passage, and I've gotten it in the show just because of lack of time. So I train the horse. I like to do it in long lines. But then if I'm riding in a show, the last 2 horses I trained, I'd finish my routine, and through repetition and understanding the routine, I'd do a canter and rare, canter off, canter, rare, canter off, rare. And then the music, again, the change of the music, cadence. And then I'd just try to get into that passage, clucking them into it. And I got it that way. I mean, I'd practice too, but it got it that way. A Spanish trot, which is picture a trotting march. We call that a high trot, but I've heard it called a Spanish trot. Can even be a little easier than the passage, but a really solid passage and even piaffe, I would say, are the hardest, take the most time, and you have to have a pretty well developed horse for that, because it's visual, but it's also, as you both know, bringing the horse completely in sync with itself and encouraging the movement. I can fake a Spanish trot. I could fake the march. I can get the bows in a couple sessions and that kind of thing, but those are the things that they're just going to take a little longer and require a little more correctness, if that makes, I'm sure you would appreciate, let me ask you that question. In dressage of the visual movements, thinking pirouettes, lateral work, all that, what do you consider, like, what is considered the most difficult? Or
It really depends on the horse. I know that's a cop
yeah,
out, but like
no, that's true.
Some horses are really great at piaffe. Like my current Grand Prix horse, it took years and he still kind of shuffles, but he has the most amazing passage. But he
Interesting.
cheats. He cheats, like, because of collection. It's harder for him. And it's also confirmation. And whereas some
Yes,
horses, I think the kiss of death is starting the passage before the piaffe, even if they're not good at the piaffe, right?
completely agree.
They won't
Completely.
come back. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I totally agree. Both are very hard, but also extended trot is really hard. A true
Well, yeah,
extended trot.
I don't even do that, so I'll take your word for that. Yeah, I would think that would be very difficult.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's hard.
And you're spot on about the horse, because I get to work with Andalusians, and then
Mm-hmm.
my quarter horse that you'll see in pictures of me, the white horse where I'm rearing and she's bridleless, and we did all this stuff. She was a quarter horse.
Mm-hmm.
So she was definitely, I guess, appendix, but she was definitely athletic, but nothing like an Andalusian, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
I don't happen to be a fan of Lipizans. I do appreciate them, but not a breed I like. And then Arabs are a whole different world. So different, a whole different world. And
And you
Akultekis, interestingly, for those Akulteki is a Middle Eastern breed. There aren't that many in the country, but I would describe it as kind of a little bit of a cross, thoroughbred looking, because they have that kind of skinny flank that might make them look like they're a little malnourished, which is hard for
yes.
me when we're on tour.
Weird.
Yeah, and they a little different head, but supposedly they have an Arabian aspect. These guys were very physical, very athletic, but they weren't spooky or flighty. So, which I kind of attribute to the Egyptian Arabian. The dancing horses has Polish Arabians, that look, if you didn't know, you'd think it was a Morgan cross.
Yep.
Sensational horses, just sensational. Can't say enough good about them. Yeah.
And it also depends on the heart of the horse too. That's the
Yeah.
other thing is I had seen this horse in Denmark. He looked like a draft horse, and all of a sudden he was piaffing in the most beautiful canter pirouettes. And I looked at my vet and I was like, how is that even possible? Like,
Yeah.
he's just a monster of a horse. And he just went, and he just sat. It was amazing, you know, and he just wanted, and some of the Frisians I've trained, you know, they're not built for it. They're built for the carriage. And the breeder I worked for wanted them under saddle. And I was like, I can't believe they're doing this. And it's just because of our connection. They said, I'll do whatever you want, Megan. So
Great.
that's that too. So I'm going to switch directions and go, you were the head trainer for the Tournament of the Kings. What did that role involve day to day? What does that look like to be a head trainer there?
Yes, I always laughed and said I was the only horse trainer on the Las Vegas Strip. It was pretty cool. So it's at the Excalibur Hotel, the Tournament of Kings, and it's a medieval times type show, right? But it's not a franchise like Medieval Times. And we're going to have Mario Contreras at the Midwest Horse Fair, who's well known in that area. I love him. Great friend. We've had some fun together training. So he's at Medieval Times. Tournament of Kings is just its own, you know. So they had a dancing horse, probably I would call it a high school horse, in the show. So they do all the jousting and that, and then they say, let the coronation begin. And out rode this girl with this beautiful red velvet dress on an exquisite Andalusian. And I saw the show, and the horse did the most magnificent piaffe, but you couldn't make him walk. He'd either piaffe or passage, and he spooked at everything. And he did the same show in the same arena every night. So I was really annoyed with that, but they had called, I got to see the show before I talked to them about training. Well, then through a mutual friend, I got an interview and they wanted to fix that. So it started with, and they had 2 other Andalusians in the barn that weren't working, and they just didn't have the talent. So it was my job to get on them and figure out what they were about. And they were all trained well, but it's funny because the first couple of days I was there, the girl who rode, she's a very good rider. I think she'd done dressage, but she was, you know, the performance, it's all about the performance and the costume. So we got on in the arena outside and I said, okay. And she's like, okay, we're going to fix whatever. He wasn't doing his pirouettes and stuff. And I said, no, actually, I'm going to ride this other horse and see what he's made of. But I want you just to walk, stop, walk, stop, walk, stop. She was pissed at me. Like, this isn't work. I was like, till the day you can make that horse walk and stop and stand still. Cause we had to come out through a fog. You know, it's all this, visuals, right? Fog and look like rain. And we come cantering out like a dream. Well, the horse behind the scenes was nuts. And I don't allow that. Like I want it's there, and they're basing a lot of it off of us, of course, but I don't mind a little fired up. I might let him pee off or something, but then bring him down, walk him around, stop, pet him. Okay, here we go. Let's get fired up. So she just didn't have that skill. And so she was mad at me. And I said, hey, they hired me for a reason. So you're going to have to trust me. Walk, stop, walk, stop. The horse pee off like a son of a gun. We didn't need to work on that. We needed him to be able to, and then stop spooking. So we worked on that. Well, then I actually went there as a specialty trainer. Then they made me the head trainer. They were getting kind of poor advice on how they were going about. They had like almost 3 times the horses they needed for the show. And I was like, we can whittle that way down and cross train. So the horses have to carry flags for this, drill that the riders do. And so I set up flags in the pen, you know, and started just walking them around it. Of course, first thing I did is put up a ring and taught a lot of them liberty work. Put up my round pen. They didn't even have one. I was like, no, I got to have a round pen. That's because I need to get, you know, one-on-one with these guys and then work. It's always harder. It's like anything, working with the people, right? So I had to get the people to pay more attention and to ride and try to get that going. And so we trained horses to be multitaskers and trained the people. And it was a lot of fun. It was a bit of a challenging job. in some other ways, but I did have fun there, and I rode in the show. I finally got the white horse in the show, and years later when I left, I bought him. He had some foot problems, so he wore specialty shoes, but he was a well-trained, big Andalusian stallion, capricious. And I had lost my white mare to colic, horrifying, 2 weeks before my tour started. And I called them and said, nobody rode him after me. And he was a well-trained horse. So I bought him and had him on my tour. So it was an interesting job. Apparently Shania Twain visited a couple times and in between my being there. So I was bummed about that because she had a residency and she had a horse on stage where she brought the horse on. And I think she rode out and then got off and kind of sang Big Beautiful Horse. So I didn't get to meet her, but it was a fun job, and I loved being in Vegas. That was a lot of fun. We did have to walk the horses. The stable was way out in the parking lot. They've reworked it since then. So we actually had to walk the horses through the parking lot. It was probably a 10-15 minute walk to the showroom, walk down a ramp. So again, they had to be well trained, and so I took green horses and put them in the walk. You know what I mean? Okay, let's start walking through the parking lot, go to the showroom, feel the energy. And, it's just a great way to start. And then take them out if we had a between shows, run them around on a lunge line, let them see it. And just it's also about our energy. We can't be nervous for them. And that's a thing that I see a lot with dogs and horses. People are just way too emotional and nervous for their animals. And it's not helping them. They're looking for leadership. And when we get a good training program going, then we can kind of be a little bit more equals, but somebody's got to be in charge, and shouldn't be the dog or the horse. It should be you as a compassionate caregiver who's doing right by your animals, but somebody's got to be in charge. Don't apologize for it. It's okay. And it's not submissive. It's not bad. It keeps a safe environment.
That's a perfect transition. I wanted to ask you about working with small animals, and maybe we could just talk about dogs, because I see, you were on Animal Planet's Pet Star. Let's just try, can you comment on that? Because I don't know how you have the time. You're doing all this stuff with the large animals. Where are you sneaking time in to work and include pets?
So it's funny because I told you I went to Cirque Maceo, my friend Alicio, and trained the Aquatechies all last winter. And then I opened the tour with him. But I don't know if I'm semi-retired, but because of 2 neck surgeries, my doctor's not thrilled that I want to spend a lot of time with horses, and a little bit of a breathing issue, but all good. People are going through a lot worse. But so I kind of come and go from the show. In the meantime, he asked me to book the show. I was like, I don't want to book the show. He's like, yeah, but you know what we need, and da da da. So now I'm the booking person. I'm finding the venues. And we did 42 weeks last year. So I would come and go. We went to Alaska for 6 weeks. I know I'm digressing here, but I loved Alaska. It was spectacular. So, so I have a little bit of time. I now have grandchildren. I'm here in Georgia. That's why I don't have my horse pictures and stuff behind me. My daughter just had a baby. So I'm enjoying that part of my life as well. But I'm really passionate about training foundations. As I said, I love working with Cirque Maceo because I get to do the performing stuff. That's I love it. And he still likes me being in the show. I'd be happy to be at the back or being consulting, but he likes me as a performer. And I do understand as you get older in performance, an elegant woman can look very nice with a horse. It doesn't always have to be a young hot chick. That works too, trust me, but he likes to have me do it. So it's a lot of fun. I didn't expect to be in that position at this point. So when I'm home, I do dog training, and it's really about, again, I worry, this is a whole soapbox, and you can listen to this on my podcast because it's about shelters. Shelters do great work. So let me say that. However, I've known them and I've experienced it personally to not necessarily provide the whole story because they're really so passionate about getting dogs placed. But I don't think a big dog that's of unknown history is the right dog to bring into your house with a family. right? And especially a pit bull, and get mad at me or not, but unfortunately, if they decide to go, they're going for broke. But any big dog, okay, we can leave it at that. So sometimes a puppy is in order, and that I'm very passionate about the fact that, one, we should have choices and animals should always be taken care of. But this is such a bigger picture. And my podcast is called Animal Tales. And maybe you guys can drop a link I'll give you. Because there's a lot more. We're importing dogs for shelters. We're telling you the shelters are full, but then we import dogs from other countries. The CDC had to step in and ban imports from 113 countries, falsified rabies, puppies too young. So we have a lot of maybe what would have been unadoptable dogs in shelters. And my heart breaks for that, but that doesn't mean we should just be putting them in homes and putting people at risk. So I help people who tell, and rescue is not a breed. Rescue, we see it with horses too. Oh, that horse must have been abused. Oftentimes with dogs, I find it's lack of training. I had a big poodle people would have swore were abused because he cowered at everything, but he was scared of everything. He didn't know anything. And I could tell you he was never abused. He was kept in a kennel and was a baby dad or breeder. And not that that's neglectful and abusive in its own way, but as far as hitting on them, he was hit by other people. That's not always the case. Now, we should always take care of our animals, but because we think that they've been abused or rescued, we don't want to train them. Well, all we're doing is letting them live in their lousy story and reinforcing it. If you get a horse or dog that has a bad story, they don't hold on to it like we do. We have the ability to overthink it. That's what separates us. Not necessarily a good thing. Give them a new story today. Honor some of the nuances. Clinton Anderson tells it, the lady says, well, Precious, now you want to use her in your clinic, but she was abused by a man in a black hat. So I know she's not going to. And Clinton says yes. And then he goes and works a horse and she works fine because he gives her leadership, So yes, be concerned or consult a trainer, but give them a new story today. And that's what brings them forward, and keep training. You can teach an old dog and an old horse new tricks, and you should, at least behaviors and manners, because otherwise you put yourself, the animal, and everybody else in jeopardy. So that's the kind of training I like to do. And I tried to train at some shelters, but some things didn't go well. It's not that I still wouldn't do that, but I'd probably do it kind of on my own. Again, I appreciate the work they do. I just think we're not, again, there's more to the story, happy face, angry face. There's a middle, and sometimes it's a really uncomfortable middle, right up there with horse slaughter and those kind of topics. We could talk about that for hours on a podcast, and it's not all, it shouldn't be, and that's the end of it. There's just so much more. And that goes back to where we started this, like the internet. And, don't get caught up in that. Gosh, use your common sense and look at the people around you physically. Go to other stables or stuff and see it. Don't trust everything you see on the internet. And if you're looking for someone to train a horse or dog for you, even the basics, ask them to see examples of more than one that they've trained, particularly in the horse industry. I call it the one-hit wonder. Duplicate that with various breeds and various, as I think Megan, you said, various temperaments, even various issues. If you bring me a horse to do a Liberty Act in 90 days, I'll do that for you. And you don't have to tell me, well, this horse had this and this. I'll figure that out right away. But also, it's not going to be an excuse, right? I'm just going to soldier on, and that helps the animals. And at the end of the day, that's our goal, is to do right, absolutely right by our animals. And it's such a rewarding, gosh, having well-trained animals and well-adjusted animals is just there's no more rewarding feeling to me, it's wonderful. It's, I guess, why we do what we do, because we're certainly probably not getting rich at it, right? But we have rich lives.
Yeah, we do. So you tour across the United States giving clinics. What's the most common goal riders come to you with? and that you want to
So,
help them with.
yeah, most of my clinics are groundwork, liberty, and trick training. And I sneak in foundation work. I love it because the first thing I do at my trick clinic is say, everybody walk your horse around the arena, kick distance apart. I can't believe I have to tell people that, but I do, with your lead rope. And you guys, gals know this, you're looking at them and you already know that horse is pushy, that horse is nervous. They're a good pair, they got a good communication. So I already know, but then I work in, like we're going to stand there while I'm explaining a trick. Well, I'm purposely making you stand there a little longer than you're comfortable with because you need to be able to do that with your horse because you might be doing vet work or you might be doing farrier work. So I try to, not that I don't verbalize it, but sometimes I have to sneak it in. When I do deal with riders, which I do occasionally for friends or that, I'm a believer that when you say my horse crow hops with me or my horse does this or my horse does that, get off his back and fix it on the ground. I'd be hard to convince that there's something that I could, well, I don't know that that's true. You could fix things in the saddle, but the safest way, if I can't get in a round pen with a horse, and again, you got to have the right whips and tools, right? And I'm going to talk about that at the clinic because these stick and string and these carrot sticks, I can't even hold them. I have like arthritic hands. I can't even hold on to them. A beautiful light lash whip or a buggy whip or whatever you're really adept with is going to be your best tool, right? Not an unyieldy, heavy thing. But if I can't make a horse walk, trot, and canter at the lightest suggestion in a round pen, I would not be on their back. I can promise you that. And if a horse is crow hopping at the canter, he's going to canter his butt off in the round pen with his saddle and bridle on and side checks like somebody's on his back. I'm going to check him up. I'm not going to turn his head loose. I'm not going to take the halter off and let him turn his head away from me. We're going to take those reins and make him a little bit of a check. And he's going to canter both directions until we settle down. And that's how I'm really, really adamant about that. And you get my age, someone said that earlier. Some of us shouldn't even be on horses. My mom was a quadriplegic, lifetime horsewoman, very, very good horsewoman. We all told her the horse was too much for her, but it was a beautiful half Frisian she'd always dreamed about having, and she wanted to do some dressage competition. This woman got paid to ride her horse in a performance and decided to go back to the competitive world. Anyhow, so the horse needed a snaffle bit. I don't know a lot about competition, but apparently low-level dressage, it's just a snaffle, right? This horse was a 12-year-old. The woman who sold him to my mom had a broken arm. It's kind of like that Facebook meme. The kids are all bandaged up and it'd say pony, great with kids, She had a broken arm. My mom bought the horse. I rode the horse. I was younger then and I was on my game. And I rode right over to the barn and said to my dad, give me a break, give me a bit, something, a curb, something, because this horse had just taken me for a ride. Well, my mom was riding him with a snaffle because she was getting ready and kind of doing some figure eights. And he just crow hopped and she came off. So, I don't know if you'd call it an accident because it was predictable, but she was a quadriplegic. So I'm really feel strongly that we should really think about whether, and then a woman my age or old, I'm in my 60s, they get on their horse, they say, my horse is great. He will walk on the trail all day long. So you do that, maybe you ride a lot that month. And now you're like, well, I want to canter. And you give the horse and you go, and the horse crow hops. Because the horse says, you've forgotten yourself. This is not our program. I do not canter. Thank you very much. And he gives the woman crap. And they like, I don't know what, he's never done that. Well, you've never asked anything of him. You're letting him control the program here and you're going along with it. So when you ask something of him, it's absolutely gonna at some point push back on you. So you know what? I love miniature horses. Get a miniature horse, still smells like a horse. You can still have the barn experience and get a cart. It's a blast. And it's kind of hard to wreck. You can, but get them trained decently, and miniatures are so much fun. That's what that's my retirement plan, is to buy miniature horses from different places, train them, sell a really cute cart and the horse, and you can still have your fun. I love to drive. I absolutely love driving horses. So get off the horse and get a mini, or learn Liberty work, because it is dangerous if the horse is in control, and it's just too far for us to fall and break something. And I watched my mother quadriplegic for the rest of her life, lasted 12 years, and had a good life. I mean, we did a lot, but it's you can't take those things back, and God willing, you won't have that experience, but it's just dangerous. So be very thoughtful and understand when you are and when you're not in control of what your horse is doing, and don't kid yourself, because that's a really dangerous place for you and everybody, and you jeopardize the horse.
I would take a mini and that drove. I think
I
that would
love it.
be so much fun. I was talking to a friend about probably 9 months ago, and her quarter horse was world champion in the driving. A couple
Ah,
years, gosh, it's been several years now, maybe 3, 4 years ago, maybe more than that. But he was world champion, and so I love talking driving with her, and I'm like, I would love
yeah,
to get a little, like a small pony or a mini, and just drive. Fun,
so much fun.
so much fun.
The reason I had a mini, so when I was young, I did aerial acts, right? I grew up in the circus. It's kind of like a circus movie, juggling in the backyard and hanging on stuff. You can learn anything. So one of my sisters is a good juggler, and I learned trapeze, single trapeze, like rings. So that was my mainstay when I was young. And then I missed the horses. I'd grown up with them. So I got a horse and rode my dancing horse, high school. And so I had 2 acts to offer. It was good. And a lot of circuses at that point, I could get a lot of work. Well, when you have one horse, it could be hard. And my horses were well adjusted, but so I would bring a mini as a stablemate, right? But it wasn't as big of a deal as having 2 horses. Well, my father then trained a big and little, where we did a Liberty act with a big and a little. The little goes under the big's feet. They waltz together, and it's adorable. So then I would do that, and then I started training trick horses. So I had 3 acts with 2 horses, and I could do 20 minutes alone with my trick horse, because he counted and answered questions and all of that, yes and no, and count with his hoof. So actually at Circus World, he had his own show, the Lucky Star show, between the circus performances when we were there. And so it worked perfectly. One big horse, one little horse. And I always taught him to drive, because I always had fun with that.
You're suddenly sideways for us. I don't know if her screen froze. I think her screen froze.
I think she's frozen.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. It's like, wait a minute, what?
I hope she comes back.
I know. Kind of fun watching her sideways. Oh dear.
Well, what should
Here,
we do, Steph?
I don't know. I'm gonna pull her briefly out of the stream.
I'm gonna run to the bathroom.
Are you?
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Okay, well, I will add her back in. We'll see if Megan will come right back. Well, folks, it's me. We'll pull Megan out too. Now we ran. Hopefully, we lost. So Heidi completely disappeared. We'll see if she gets back in or not. I'm wondering if her cell phone battery died, because that wouldn't surprise me. But no, I'm going to go ahead and flash a couple of links on the page. So this is Heidi's website. It's HeidiHerriott.com. You can learn all about her. I'm going to go ahead and actually share that screen in the website. Okay.
I'm back.
Let's see. I'm going to try to share the screen and show her website real quick. So it's HeidiHerriott.com. This is the homepage. You can learn about Heidi just clicking on the link at the top. Her podcast. There's links there. We'll quick look at that. She talks about her podcast. Lots of stuff. There's her animal tales that she was talking about. Megan, I'm wondering if her cell phone battery died.
It may have. We should add that obviously she's coming to the Midwest Horse Fair in 2026. I believe that's the 17th, 18th, and 19th. If you want to apply to ride with her, you can do that at the MidwestHorseFair.com website. She will be, I'm not sure how many, but generally it's 2 clinics per clinician a day. And she sounds like someone really fun to ride with. And yeah, I've really enjoyed talking with her.
Yeah, lots of fun. So I'm just clicking through her website. Go to HeidiHerriott.com. You can click around to see her various podcasts, learn out about her. She did talk briefly before we lost her about the animal welfare. Look at that cute little mini. Oh, so adorable. So lots of stuff on here. She had talked about the circus, and I've got it on there. Let me just go ahead and. So she did talk briefly about being in this situation, I'm sorry, this circus. So that's the website and what it looks like. It's on the screen. If you want to, write that down, you can, and that's what it looks like. So that's here's the coming. Looks like there'll be a Bradenton, Ocala, and Route. Oh, look at that, Madison, Wisconsin, April 17th through the 19th.
Woohoo!
So, Alliant Energy Center. So that's Midwest Horse Fair. So yeah, I do see an attempt that Heidi's trying to join us back in, but not sure yet. We're not quite there yet.
What do you think? We'll give her 2 minutes?
Yeah. Nope, we'll try. We'll do our best to hold out. Let's look at that one. She's trying. See, she's trying.
Aww. That's a bummer. I had more questions.
Right? I know. Well, fascinating. The circus life, you kind of hear stories about it, and it sounds magical. And just, from the Disney and, movies and things, and you talk to somebody that's lived that life, and it is so magical.
I think it sounds hard, Steph. I mean,
it's a life.
10 shows. I mean, and you're on the road. There's no home. I mean, that's what I love the most about being a horse trainer. I have home, and I enjoy my home training and then going out to horse shows. It sounds like a lot of work.
It's a lifestyle. It's probably like being an actor who is in a show, a play, or who is on a movie set for months on end or something. It's definitely a lifestyle.
Yeah. Well,
you can't be a homebody, Miss Megan.
I am a homebody, contrary to popular
Me too.
belief.
Although I think when I was younger, it might have been a lot of fun.
Oh, well, I mean, I'm at Temple Farms. We had 2 shows a week, and that was doable, but that was at Temple Farms. And it was a lot of work. I certainly enjoyed it. It was an amazing opportunity, but I can't imagine being on the road. I mean, I was able to sleep in my bed before the performance. So
yeah,
not a
how long were the
room.
Performances?
Yeah, what?
How long were the performances?
Were they an hour and a half?
I feel like they were hour and a half.
Yeah,
because a long time since I went to one, but
we had mares and foals. Then it was driving young stallions. Then there was usually a pas de deux, a solo, the quadrille, hand in hand, and then you had the airs above the ground.
Yeah,
it was a lot.
It was a lot going on. Yeah.
Well,
all right.
Any luck, or
she dropped back off, so I didn't know if you were gonna wait a minute or two, or I don't know if she's gonna pop an email over and say, sorry, my.
I haven't seen it. Yeah.
Oh, we're getting there.
Yeah. Is it too late? I'm sorry. Everything crashed.
To our patient selves. We were hoping.
I'm sorry.
Back.
Everything crashed on me, and I had it all plugged in, so I apologize. I'm actually good with technology, but sorry, ladies.
No worries. Well, Steph,
all right.
You have more questions, right? I know I do.
go ahead. I was just going to mention to Heidi that while she was reconnecting, we shared her website. We showed it. We shared
Great.
Cirque Mateo mentioning
Yeah.
that that's coming to horse fair. You know, you're coming to horse fair, so showed that. So hopefully people got a chance to at least write down the websites, and I've had them flashed them here on the screen and stuff. But we were able to
Good. Yeah.
show
Get
them
your
that.
tickets.
Yeah, right. So go ahead,
Yeah.
Miss Megan. You said you got some questions.
I did. So you also had a TV show called Heidi Herriott's HorseTrix.
Yeah.
What's a favorite episode, and what was it like to be on TV?
Oh, that's easy. My dad was in an episode with me, and it was great because he's since passed, and he was my mentor. And so I don't even know which number it was. There's 11 episodes. So RFD had started a second channel, the RFD network. Gosh, I'm trying to remember the name of the channel. They had two channels going for a while, and they were looking for content. So I put it together myself and created a pilot, and they really liked that episode. It's actually I come to you from the wagon barn in Baraboo, Wisconsin, in front of one of the beautiful wagons. And so that's where I was putting my pilot together. And then they took it, and I had 11 episodes, but they aired it for 2.5 years. It should have only aired for one season. And they offered it to me again, but it's hard. I'm the horse trainer, the driver, the costume maker, the contract negotiator. So I was really at a crossroads of, do I make my business? And I'm sure I say this because I know a lot of people go through this. Do I make my business bigger and hire people, in which case I got to keep making more money? Or do I give up opportunities? And I had trained horses, so I could have trained them to do a lot more, but I used to say, it won't make me more money, but it'll keep me from getting booked because it's going to take my time. So it's like everything. You're the artist, or you're the office, or the shit shoveler, right? And I'd hire people to help me do chores and that kind of thing. But so I didn't do another season. I kind of regret that. I had a couple great sponsors. One of them was a Shriners, the medicine. They just stopped making it, but I actually went out to Washington State and met them, and so it was a lot of fun. But again, I did one trick an episode. So one of the things, we're going to make it live, available to everybody when they come to the clinics. We'll give them the URL, because you get one trick an episode, so it'll help you. Anything you see at the clinic, which is 1 hour, it goes fast. It breaks it down. And you'd have access to me too, to reach out. I've got a lot of content online, but I'm always happy to help people. I don't think I've ever turned anybody down who asked me a quick question or that, or, I try to be as helpful as I can. But again, like the yes is the first trick I always train, because I love my horses to answer me. Yes, no, smile. I train in a routine. Yes, no, smile, pick up with the mouth. Pedestal, 2 types of bows, the bow with one knee, and then what people would call a camel stretch or breakdown, both legs out front with the head between the legs, liberty work, and I feel like there's one more, but each one is just devoted to that. So it's a lot of fun. I'm really proud of the show.
Thought you had multiple questions, Megan. But you're muted.
You're muted. Yeah. I was
Yeah.
going to say, I don't hear Megan. There you go.
I gotta read it. What's one myth about trick or liberty training you'd love to bust?
Oh, easy. Liberty. I walk out in a liberty clinic and I say, the first thing you need to know is you're not going to be training in the arena. You need a small space. Unless you need a weight loss or workout plan, you do not want to turn your horse loose in this entire arena. Take the halter off, as they all like to do, and turn your horse loose, right? I have a friend, Tommy Fahey, who was at the Kentucky Horse Park for years and worked with Cavalia. He's performed Roman Ride, Trick Ride. He was my co-host on the podcast, and I just love him. He's very thoughtful. He could be my son. He's, a young fella, but he's great. And we have a saying, there's no secret sauce. So those of us who get the job done, and maybe you could say this in the world you've been in, we're really doing it more alike than differently. There's no like new invention that, so, I never take a horse, even in the round pen when I'm starting Liberty. They're not at Liberty. I usually have a halter on them. I don't use rope halters. I like the old webbing or leather. I have a halter and a lunge line, and I'm showing them what I want. You could do it the other way too, but I'm telling you, I've been doing this. I'm 60 some years old. My father and family before me, and I still could train a full Liberty act with horses going different directions and everything. So it's just this myth that you got to go in and you're immediately going to create a bond. It just doesn't always happen. And I don't want you to be disappointed. So put a halter and lead rope on them or a lunge line and bring them to you and tell them, show them what you want to do. Don't be shy with your tools. Like a lash whip is it's like fly fishing if you use it right. It's not abusive. It's not dangerous. I can't tell you how many people say, oh, he's afraid of whips. And I take a horse in the ring and I lay the whip right over his back. But I do it I let my energy go and my negative, and I just say, you're fine. We got this. And they're like, oh, okay. So yeah, but it's the space. You're not training Liberty in the arena unless you need a workout, lady.
So I got a question. Since you grew up in Wisconsin, did you know a Roman rider from Oregon named Elaine Kramer?
Oh, I know the name, but I don't.
Cowgirl Hall of Fame.
Can't really. Is that what it is? Yeah, I know the name, but no, I don't know if I know her or knew
Didn't
her.
know if you two had crossed paths, being not that, growing up kind of that South Central Wisconsin.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
There's a great lady, a breeder of Morgans up in Baraboo, Domino Stable, Susie Weiss. Her horse, I love Morgans. I just love them. I'm not wild about the way they breed them now. I liked the kind of heavier horse, but they're brains. So I used her horse because she knew my parents well. Lovely person, beautiful horses. And so I needed a horse. I took the Clinton Anderson model. Clinton's a friend of mine. He was on my podcast. Best episode I had. I had to edit it a bit, let's just say, but he's a riot. By the way, the method is my preferred foundation training, a version of the method, but I think you can get the job done with that. There's too many others who show you one thing in their video, but they don't get the job done that way behind the scenes. And that annoys me because it might not be all warm and fuzzy or whatever, but never hurt your animals. But to get the job done, I like Clinton's, the method, I think it's called. So anyhow, so Clinton always shows you with a horse that's trained, and then he takes the untrained horse, right, in his videos. And I spent some time at his ranch. So I followed that. So I took my trained horses and showed you what it looks like. Because there's a woman out there who does trick training, and she says she takes her trained horse and picks up the fake bottle of Coke like he's drinking it. She said, you just do this, he's going to pick it up. He is not. 99% of the time, your horse is not going to pick up that bottle. I can promise you. I train pickups all the time. It's slow. I do it with a handkerchief with a little bit of food in it. Anyhow, so I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. So I took this Morgan of Susie's I'd never seen before. I brought him in to shoot. I was always in a hurry because we were doing shows every day at Baraboo when I filmed my show. The doggone Morgan, he's in the first episode, is Cosmo Raphael, I think, gorgeous horse. It's a joke because he looks like he's trained. He stepped on the pedestal like he'd done it 100 times. He did the yes, he did the no. I was like, can you please slow down? You're not making this look like you don't know what you're doing. So it was really funny, but yeah, she was great. And her horses are amazing. There's so many. I don't go for a breed. I look at a horse when I'm looking for a horse. and say, I like the way that horse moves. I like his mentality. I love coloring. I'm in show business. So I probably don't want a brown or red horse. I just hate to say, but I just love looking at the horse. Like you said, a Frisian or that draft horse you saw. I know what I see, and that's what I go with. So I'm happy to work with just about anything.
What advice would you give to someone who's thinking about getting into Liberty trick training as a professional?
Oh, interesting. There's probably enough work to go around, but um, I don't know. I guess you could probably make a living at it. I'm a big fan of doing it with your like hobby horses and that kind of thing, or even your barrel horses or whatever. It's like we learned with people years ago, you cross train, give them something else to think about. Um, I mean, I'm the biggest proponent of if you're good at it, go for it. And if it makes me look like I'm not as good, then that's on me, man. I better up my game. I have a good friend who's a trick rider and Roman rider, and now she's got Liberty horses, Jessica Folks. She does a lot of shows. I think she's been at the Midwest Horse Fair, and her and I always talk about it because there are people doing, the same stuff we're doing. And it's like, you can't get mad. You just up your game, like, hey, I better get better. But I'm all for it. If you know how to do it and you're good at it. I just get weary of the kind of phony balonies out there. And I don't think they get ferreted out quite as quickly as I might like, but I hate to see people lose their money that way too, but if they get the job done and they're not hurting the animals, but the reality is, folks, if they're getting the job done, we're doing it a lot more alike than not, because there's only so many ways to go about it. You get them where they really pay attention to you, you connect with them, and, don't personalize. I do tell people this, dog training too. Don't personalize your program too much. So the biggest thing I help people with, they want to march and bow their horse, either riding or at Liberty. Well, they get the cues confused, right? Well, of course, I'm a professional, so that's what I do. But if you start with the wrong cue, and then you say, well, that's okay, I'll just put a different cue for this. Well, that's all well and good. But in my world, I train horses so that anybody who's knowledgeable and understands universal training could step in and work them. I don't want them to look good only for me. I can't do my job like I train the Akkel techies. I had to let my sisters who are professionals and then my, people in my world step in and work them so I could see if I was doing the job right. Because the worst thing we do, and we do it really badly with dog training, oh, well, he only does it this way. That's like sending your kid to nursery school and saying, well, they only listen to me. That's a huge mistake because you've endangered the welfare of that animal. Make it universal. It's pretty easy to do. There's a lot of guidelines out there. And again, that's why I like Clinton, the method. It's pretty basic and universal. If I walk up to a horse that's trained by somebody use the method, I can give it cues and it's going to respond, or I'm going to figure out really quickly. So don't make me have to, that's just not a good plan. Don't be proud of yourself for being too personalized, because it's really, if that horse comes into, needs a home, nobody could figure out how to work it or whatever. So that's always something I tell people.
I think that's great advice. Now, you're coming to Horse Fair. What's the plan at Horse Fair? You're going to give 2 clinics a day, and what kind of topics are you going to be sharing with us?
So I'm doing trick training, and then I'm doing 3 different types of Liberty. I think beginner, intermediate, and advanced, because I really want to show people, what that's going to look like. And I might be doing one round penning to successful Liberty, which all of it is anyhow, but it's also a way to ride successfully, all of it, and when I grew up around Western people, they'd go in the round pen and just run the crap out of their horse one way, let them turn whichever way they wanted and go the other way and just run fast. And then sometimes I see dressage people lunging, which is fine. Sometimes they have the side reins on and all that, but like 20, 30 minutes before they ride, I'm like, oh my God, if I had 20 minutes a day in the round pen, in a month, I'd have a beautiful routine going with the Liberty work, So I'm a huge fan of that. So those are the clinics I'll be doing for sure. And then I'll be working in the Cirque Museo show. So I'll be busy, but it's great. I'm happy. Happy girl.
Well, we've had you on for over an hour and a half, and we appreciate it. I know we had a little interlude where we lost you briefly, but that's okay. We got you back. We really
Yeah,
appreciate
thank
your
you.
time. We're looking forward to seeing you up here at Horse Fair. Bring some of
Yeah.
that warm weather with you when you come up, because
Yeah.
Wisconsin can be all over the board. I know many
Yes.
Horse Fair where we've had every season displayed. Warm, rain,
Absolutely. Yeah.
snow. Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, we're really looking forward to it. Megan, did you have any other questions for Heidi?
I don't. Do you have anything to add, Heidi?
No, I appreciate that. We got to cover a lot of ground as I told you guys before we started that I'm a talker. So, it's
Good stuff.
no,
That's why
I
we're
really
here.
appreciate it because I think I definitely am going to show people how to train Liberty and how to get it started. But as you could tell, it's really important for me to talk about these other things. So I appreciate this forum because the clinics will go really fast, and as you guys know, probably there's always things you feel like you left unsaid or could have done more. So this has been great. You've allowed me to get on my soapbox and have some fun with this. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
Well,
Thank you very much.
you.
Yeah, we've got
We-
your website on the screen. Just
Fabulous. Yeah.
just so it's there, and we'll make sure that is. I believe it's already in the description. Sorry, go
Great.
ahead, Megan.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll see you at Midwest Horse Fair, and maybe we'll get to interview you in person.
Please do. I would really enjoy that. Come over to Cirque Museo, find out our show times, make your way around the back, and I'll of course recognize you now that I've seen you. But yeah, come and meet Alicio. You want an interview. Oh my God.
Yes.
He is
I
a
do.
9th and 10th generation on each side of his family of equestrian and performance artist. And he is a very fun interview. So by all
right.
means,
Awesome.
come and see us.
Besties are coming.
Yeah,
Yeah,
put in a good
great.
word for us. We would love to meet him. That would be really
Yeah,
awesome.
come and find us. We're in the back before the show, so come and find us. It'd be fun.
Okay.
There, I got the Cirque Museo website on the screen real quick.
Great. Beautiful show. A lot of fun.
Well, we will have this live stream actually stays on our YouTube channel. Megan, we will be sharing it with the fine folks at Midwest Horse Fair. They will be promoting it out on their Facebook page, right?
That's right.
So we'll, of course, put it back out on our page in a couple of places. But
Great.
yeah, we really appreciate your time so much. And I know you're an hour ahead of us. So thank you. We really do appreciate that.
Oh, you're welcome.
And congratulations on being a grandma.
Yeah,
thank you. Yeah,
exciting.
it's best Christmas present ever.
I was just going to say, what a great Christmas present. So,
and I'll add that my daughter honored our family by naming the little girl Ellery as her first name. Her middle name is Herriott, as in our last name. My daughter goes by Cassidy Herriott. Now, Penny is her married name, but the little girl's name is Herriott, her middle name. So it honors our family. So that makes me very happy.
That's amazing. I love that.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Congratulations. And, happy holidays.
Everybody.
So
yeah, have a safe and wonderful holiday, everybody. And let's have some fun training horses. It's awesome.
Yeah. All right. We're going to end the stream. Thank you, Heidi, Megan.
Thank you.
See you. Bye, everybody.